All right, today we're diving into a really startling geopolitical analysis, one that claims a single phone call could be the trigger that sends the entire Middle East spiraling into war. So, the whole idea we're exploring here is, well, it's as simple as it is terrifying. The source we're looking at argues that the massive decision between war and peace in the region might actually boil down to what one single person does in the very near future. And look, this isn't some vague fortune telling. The source of video from a super direct claim. It lays out a specific chain of command, suggesting an immediate, almost reflexive action, and it all hinges on this one phone call. So the obvious question is, who? Who is this person who could possibly hold that much power? The entire scenario that this source lays out revolves around one key figure. The man's name is Steve Witkoff, and according to this analysis, he is Donald Trump's special envoy for the Middle East. His whole job, his mission, is to deal with the Iran situation. That role, as you can imagine, puts him right at the center of the action. Now, as the story goes, Witkoff has just finished consulting with Israeli leadership, and he's now standing at a massive fork in the road. He's got two options, and they could not be more different. Either they talk or they attack. Okay, so path number one is the diplomatic route. It involves getting around to the table for talks in Ankara, with countries like Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt helping out. Path number two, it's the complete opposite. Just skip the talking and give Trump the go-ahead for an immediate military strike. But, and this is a huge but, here's where the source throws in a major curveball. It claims that path one, the whole negotiation thing, is actually a setup, a trap. The idea is that the talks are designed to fail from the very beginning. Witkoff would make impossible demands on Iran, demands they could never agree to. And when they refuse, well, there is your justification for an attack. See? We tried diplomacy, but they wouldn't cooperate. This all raises a really big question, right? If this analysis is on the right track, why would Israel prefer a war over a peace deal? Well, the source gets into a very specific strategic reason for that. To really get it, you have to look at what a successful peace deal would actually do for Iran. What does a win for diplomacy look like from their side? Think about it. A deal means sanctions get lifted. All of a sudden, Iran can sell its oil on the open market, bringing in billions of dollars. That new money would spark a flood of investment from places like China, Russia, and Europe. Their national currency would shoot through the roof. And all that new wealth, it could go right into funding their military and building even more advanced weapons. So the absolute key takeaway from this part of the analysis is this. From this perspective, a stable, wealthy, globally connected Iran is actually a much bigger strategic threat in the long run. So the main goal becomes preventing that prosperous future from ever happening. Okay, but there's a huge problem with the Let's Attack plan. The source points to a massive complication, a critical logistical issue for the United States. Its weapons arsenal is supposedly running dangerously low. The way the source describes the feeling inside the U.S. government is pretty blunt. The worry isn't just about starting a war, it's about whether they have enough firepower to actually finish it. The claim is that the U.S. just doesn't have the missile stockpiles needed for a long, drawn-out conflict. And the argument is that vast amounts of American missiles have already been shipped out. A huge portion went to help Ukraine, and another huge portion went to resupply Israel. That leaves what's described as a critically small amount left over for any new war. The source says this depletion is happening for a few reasons. You've got the massive aid to Ukraine, of course. Then there's the need to keep resupplying Israel for its various conflicts. And there's this really interesting tactic mentioned, where Hezbollah allegedly uses cheap drones to make Israel fire its super expensive defense missiles, basically draining their supplies on purpose. And all of this, the strategy, the motives, the empty arsenals, it all brings us right back to where we started, to the one decision, the one man, and the one phone call that the source claims could kick this whole thing off, despite all the risks. The source predicts this terrifyingly fast chain reaction, like dominoes falling. The call is made, the U.S. attacks, Iran immediately hits back at American bases all over the region. From there, the conflict explodes, spreading everywhere, and the result? Global markets would panic, sending the price of oil and gold into the stratosphere. So after you look at all the alleged motives and strategies and constraints, this analysis keeps coming back to its one simple core idea, that in this incredibly complex global situation, the fate of an entire region could be hanging by the thread of a single phone call. At the end of the day, the picture this source paints is one of a world holding its breath, teetering right on the edge. And it leaves us with one very heavy unanswered question. What happens next?